Hello, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and I want to thank all of our keynote speakers, expert moderators, panelists, and solutions sponsors for participating in this year's Insight Jam Live. This has been a big year with the launch of the InsightJam.com community site and the amazing growth of the Insight Jam YouTube channel, which now has over 500,000 subscribers. Much of this success is tied directly to the video events, podcasts, and panel discussions we have been producing, and none of that would be possible without the thoughtful participation of the many IT professionals who are generously sharing their expert insights for this latest jam. We are building Insight Jam to be a place to celebrate enterprise technology with best practices, expert analysis, and solution showcases. And we want all of you to join us there to keep the jam going into the new year and beyond. If you haven't joined Insight Jam, please do. And if you already have, take a moment to invite some of your colleagues. And again, thank you all for being here and enjoy this event.
Solutions Review presents the Insight Jam Expert Keynote.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be joining from. Today, we are going to talk about trends, and trends is always a very interesting topic. Some people like it, some people don't. One thing is sure about trends that nobody is going to be sure about what is going to happen in the future. So I always like to set the stage about, what is the perspective that we are trying to take when we forecast these trends. So for us, when we look at these, the goal here is to provide the visibility for any of the decision makers that are going to be in the digital transformation space if they are undertaking any sort of projects. At this point of time of the year, they are going to be making decisions on the budget, and they need to know what is going to be the trend overall from the enterprise software industry, as well as how that is going to affect their budget, etc. So we are forecasting all of those trends, and those are the ones that we are going to be discussing. The other perspective of this is also going to be more from the product organization perspective. So if you are in the marketing organization or the product organization of the enterprise software industry, you still need to know how these trends are going to affect your R&D spend. So those are two categories where you might be able to use these trends. So I'm going to dig right in the trends. So number one that we have is AI augmented agents and AI governance platforms. So this is a very, very, very interesting trend, and I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening to, they have some sort of excitement about what is going to happen with the artificial intelligence. At this point of time, it's very early game. Nobody really knows how AI is going to affect the business cases or how companies are going to be utilizing them. But for the most part, if you look at from the macro perspective, how the money is being spent and how companies are utilizing the AI. So one of the things that investors are really excited about is that they want to see AI in every single enterprise software product out there, and you are going to see the AI inbuilt as part of that as well. Now, if you are going to be, let's say, the end users of the manufacturing company or retail company, for you, it might not affect directly, but when you are purchasing the software, that's when you are going to have these capabilities baked as part of the products, and they are going to affect the user experience. There are going to be certain layers that you need to keep in mind. For example, let's say if you are going for cloud versus on-prem, on-prem is probably not going to get as much R&D investment. So let's say if you are planning to upgrade, that's when you need to focus probably on cloud, because that's where you are going to have these agents. So overall, where the application of agents are going to be, number one priority for most companies is going to be more from the customer experience, customer service perspective. So any of the categories that are positioned in that market segment is where you are going to see a lot more workflows of AI agents, just because that is just easier to replace category. For example, let's say if you look at any of the support agents, I'm pretty sure you guys have had some of the, slightly more bad experiences when dealing with agents. In general, the way the agents work is they are probably going to be trained on 1,000 scenarios. That's the scope that they generally have overall from the customer service perspective. So for those use cases, training AI models is going to be much easier. They might be able to cover probably more than 1,000 training sessions. So that's probably going to be easy swap. At this point of time, it's still very early in terms of how the adoption is going to be, whether people are going to like it or not. But that's where you are going to see it a lot more. You are going to see this with the other categories as well. For example, let's say if you look at ERP, some of the operational categories, the backend categories, you are going to see agents there as well. The second thing that you are going to see is the whole collaboration aspect of agents as well. So in general, these agents are probably going to be good at one aspect of things, and then the way your human collaboration works, that's how your AI collaboration is going to work as well. So you are going to see a lot more tools that are going to be in the market. There are going to be newer categories that are going to be launched to design these experiences, how these agents are going to choreograph their move. And then you are also going to have a lot of different governance platforms that are going to be launched in the market. So again, it's a very exciting trend. So a lot of categories in the market are going to change. So that is something to keep an eye on. The second one trend that we have is going to be ChatGPT induced revised search patterns and consumer behavior. And this is a very interesting trend as well, because I don't know how much you have noticed in terms of how much ChatGPT has already influenced the search behavior. And obviously, at this point of time, if you look at Google, they are the ones who are really being disrupted overall from the search market perspective. And this is going to have impact on pretty much everything, because everything is driven by Google, especially if you look at the front office side of things. And now, not only Google is going to introduce the ChatGPT, which we have already seen that they have introduced Gemini workflows as part of their search workflow. And that is going to be there with the other product categories as well. So some of that market share is probably going to be shifted to the other channels. So now, if you are going to be in e-commerce marketing, MarTech, you probably need to pay attention to that, how you can optimize your content marketing strategy to those channels. And now you are going to have a lot more channels that you need to attack. In general, that is also going to change the workflows for a lot of different business software categories. So we are going to see a lot more architectural changes in general because of this category. So again, you are also going to see the consumer behavior change, just because the expectation is going to change depending upon how each company adopt to these changes, whether they are going to shift their search to some of the other platforms. For example, Apple is already integrating with Perplexity, I guess. So there are going to be political alignment overall in terms of how each vendor is sort of going to work together, who they are going to be aligned with. So you are going to see a lot more changes in the market just because of this category. So that's number two. I'm going to move to the third one. And third one is going to be the continued consolidation of the enterprise software industry. We have already seen this trend in 2024 as well. Right now, the kind of state of economy is, which might change based on yesterday's election, I guess. And if you don't know, today is November 6th. That's when we are recording this session, and this is going to be live in December. But we are forecasting these trends based on what is happening as of this moment. So things might change later on, but as of today, these are the trends that we are thinking that this is what is going to happen. So here, if you look at 2024, if you look at the consolidation of the enterprise software industry, we have already seen this trend in 2024, which is probably going to be more unless we are going to have booming economy in 2025, which is not likely at this point of time, but things might change depending upon how the policy is going to be from the Washington perspective that we are going to see in the next few months. But for now, I think the consolidation is going to be there for the enterprise software industry. So any of the categories that we have, whether you talk about ERP, any sort of supply chain suites, analytics suites, CRM suites, all of those are going to become thicker. And because of that, what is going to happen is you are going to have a lot more overlap in general across these categories. So obviously it's going to be very confusing for you as a buyer if you are buying these categories, because you are going to find the same capabilities across all of these categories. So that's again, you need to pay a lot more attention to how you are going to pick the pieces and design your architecture. So that's where the problem is going to be. But this is going to be a continued trend that you're going to notice in the enterprise software industry. So that's number 3. Now, number 4 is the cloud and SaaS expense reduction, and also going to be a little bit of pricing pressure overall on the SaaS category. And this is experienced across the board on every single enterprise software category. Even if you are going to be something like Salesforce, which has never experienced any sort of pressure, from the price perspective, from the sales perspective, but now they are facing that. Obviously, because of that, you have a little bit of AI momentum that they are accommodating a lot more AI workflows to be able to command the higher pricing that they have already done. But now every single category inside SaaS is going to experience some sort of price pressure from the license perspective. And then the customers are obviously also struggling with the increase in price. And if you compare this with on-prem versus SaaS, in on-prem you had a lot more control overall on your price, because the only thing you were buying is just the code. But with SaaS and cloud, things are a little different, because here now vendors are going to be controlling a lot more. We have seen the trends such as, for example, let's say if you look at software such as your Smartsheet or ActiveCampaign, these were one of the most affordable software. Smartsheet, if you look at, they never charge more of for the collaboration side of things, meaning if you are going to have any sort of external users, then there was no sort of charge for Smartsheet. But that's changed now, because again, these companies are trying to figure out, okay, how they can charge more, because they need to justify the revenue, or they need to please their investors as well. The same thing happened with ActiveCampaign as well. It used to be one of the most unlimited sort of category where you didn't have any sort of restrictions on the email sent, but now they have changed the pricing of that as well. So you are going to see similar trends across the board on every single SaaS category out there. And that's number 4. Number 5 is, again, the M&A deals are going to be really slower. And if you look at the ERP market, especially the ERP market, that has very high correlation with M&A deals. If you are going to have more M&A deals, you are going to find a lot more projects in general. That has impact on executives, whether you are going to see these projects or not. Generally, there has to be some sort of need from the macro perspective, from market perspective. That's why if you interview anybody from the customer partner perspective, they are already feeling that they did not have enough projects. The reason for that is because that deal activity has been really slow overall in the last 3 to 4 years, and it's going to be slow even in 2025. Again, things might change, based on yesterday's outcome. But again, it's very early to forecast at this point of time how things are going to be. But we are expecting that the deal flow is going to be very conservative at this point of time. It might take at least a couple of quarters to be able to see how the new policies are going to affect the macro market and how that is going to affect the enterprise software market as well as the ERP market. So that's number 5. Number 6 on our list is the continued reallocation of skill sets and their impact on business processes. And this is the trend that we have seen at least this year. And we are seeing a lot more companies thinking about, okay, how they are going to develop the AI skill set. Obviously, there is a real shortage of AI skill set in the market at this point of time. And some of these skill sets, for example, let's say I gave the example about the customer experience, customer service. Now, if those resources are not going to be as applicable for those workflows, then obviously they are going to either upgrade themselves or the companies are going to upgrade themselves and find work for them in slightly more value-added activities. So that's where I guess, when you are going to change this workflow, that has to be incorporated as part of your enterprise software or any sort of process-centric categories. So there are going to be a lot of changes because of this change, that is governed by how the macroeconomic factors are sort of behaving. So you are going to see that a lot more in general. Again, it's very early to predict at this point of time how the skills are going to be affected, how companies are going to be organizing them, structuring them, which is going to be which category is going to be automated, which department is going to be automated versus which is not, and that all is going to govern a lot of things from the enterprise software perspective. So that's number 6 trend. Number 7 on our list is geopolitical impact on business processes. And this is very consistent with what we had predicted in 2024. And again, these trends are for 2025 because right now this is probably the end of 2024. So this is going to be, again, based on how everything is sort of being shaped up at this point of time, from the political spectrum perspective, now that is going to have impact on pretty much everything. Whether you talk about, what kind of tariffs are going to be introduced, obviously there are going to be, some pushback from the other governments as well throughout the world, and because of that, you are going to see a lot of changes in general. When you look at the whole geopolitical aspect, and that drives your supply chain, and which is going to have impact on your business processes as well. So you are going to see that a lot more. Again, it's very early to predict at this point of time how things are going to shape up, but in the next few quarters we would know how much impact are we going to get as businesses, and what is going to be the impact on the enterprise software category, as well as on the business processes. But you are definitely going to see this trend as well in 2025. So that's number 7. Number 8 on our list is more disruptions caused by software supply chain and cybersecurity issues. And this is the trend that we had seen in 2024 as well. Again, before 2024, I don't know how many businesses, companies, people related with how much damage software supply chain can cause. There was a real attention to the physical supply chain. People sort of understood what supply chains can do, but they never had an idea of what enterprise software can do to the world. So with events such as your CrowdStrike, we sort of came to know what can happen to the world. And you are probably going to see those a lot more, just because the way cloud model is distributed to the world, the way kind of contracts are structured, the way implications are of these things, the kind of the wiring that we have in the software supply chain, and the kind of dependencies that we have across the companies, across geographies, across many different vendors throughout the world. It's just mind-blowing. We just don't know enough at this point of time to be able to predict what all we are going to see in the near future. So you are going to see that a lot more in general. And the reason for that is because, again, the cloud model is very different. It's very early in the game at this point of time. Overall, in terms of the way cloud model is designed, you have handed over control to your vendors, and now they are sort of controlling a lot of these things, and you are going to lose control because of that. And sometimes it's sort of hard to predict, who is going to be impacted because of that. So again, it's very early to tell at this point of time how many issues we are going to see of this nature, but you are definitely going to see a lot more in general in 2025. The other things that is going to be prominent is also going to be cybersecurity issues. And that is going to be around, obviously, AI is very powerful at this point of time. We don't have clear regulations from the government perspective throughout the world, how they are going to be controlled. At this point of time, they are more in the wait and watch mode. So once we learn how these issues are going to impact the world, then only they are going to have the countermeasures. So we are going to see a lot more cybersecurity issues just because of the power of the AI. You are going to see that a lot more. So that's probably going to be a trend as well in 2025. So that's number 8. Now, number 9 on our trends is the collaborative partnerships and continued acquisition of networks producing data. And this is the trend that we have noticed in 2024 as well. So you are going to see this a lot more. And the reason for that is because in the world of AI, in general, data matters a lot. And sometimes companies need to partner with their competitors and the rivals as well to be able to get that data, because nobody is going to be as powerful alone. And that's why you are seeing partnerships between Salesforce and Workday. These players were sort of competing. I mean, they collaborated as well, but you are going to see that a lot more, whether you talk about collaboration between Google and Microsoft, which is very rare, or collaboration between Oracle and SAP. You are going to see those collaborations a lot more. And then from the supply chain perspective as well, we had so many different networks that sort of were the data hub, but they were sort of operating independently. For example, let's say if you talk about One Network Enterprises, that was alone, but now Blue Yonder has acquired that. And the only reason why they have acquired is to get access to the network as well as data. So you are simply going to see these trends a lot more as we make progress in 2025. And then the final trend that we have is breakup of large corporations and antitrust laws blocking large deals. So now this was the expectation that we had, before the election, because we didn't know, who was going to win. But it's probably now the trend is going to be on the reverse side. In this particular case, it's probably going to be no more breakup. And one of the biggest breakup that we were forecasting was with Google. And that could change a lot of things in the world, especially from the enterprise software perspective. So we don't see that now that is going to happen. With the other administration, it was slightly more likely, but with the new administration, I don't think that is going to change anymore. That's probably not going to happen. And then some of the challenges that larger corporations faced in 2024, especially with these mega mergers. For example, let's say we talk about Google, acquiring HubSpot. Those kind of deals, they were not very likely in 2024, but now in 2025, you are probably going to see them a lot more. And because of that, you are going to have much bigger shift. The categories are going to be much thicker overall. And I don't think there is going to be as much scrutiny. So again, that is going to drive the architecture as well. And this is probably going to be consistent with our prediction that, about the consolidation. Previously, we were forecasting that there are going to be only minor consolidation. Now, because of this trend, there could be major consolidations as well between mega corps. If they are going to struggle with revenue, then they are going to seek the financial synergy between the companies. And because of that, you are going to see a lot more mergers and acquisitions. So on that note, that's pretty much it from the trend perspective. If you want to learn more about this, then we are going to link up our digital transformation report with this. So you can download that if you like. You're going to see the QR code of that. And if you want to reach out to me, I am available as Sam Gupta. Elevate IQ. You simply need to Google and you can easily find me. Follow me on LinkedIn. And on that note, I wish you the best for the preparation phase for this year. One thing is sure, that the next year is going to be slightly more exciting than what we saw in 2024. So good luck with that. Number 11 on this list is continued digital transformation failures and focus on enterprise architecture. One of the things that we learned from this whole cloud adoption is that the enterprise architecture has become trickier. Before this, there was just one system and it wasn't as challenging. But now, even if you're going to go for some of the mainstream ERP vendors, SAP, Oracle, in that as well, the way they have designed their bundles, as well as the product that you are going to have many different products that are sort of bundled together. So that's why the whole enterprise architecture expertise has become critical. And because of all of the consolidations, etc., that we have mentioned so far in terms of the trends, that is going to make all of these categories thicker. And then your job as a buyer or the implementer is going to be much harder, because you need to figure out, okay, where do you need to align these pieces and how you are going to design the enterprise architecture. So again, we are going to see this a lot more as these categories become thicker. Number 12 on this list is energy efficient algorithms and computing. And this is related to the whole OpenAI movement that we have, or the generative AI. And right now, again, it's very early at this point of time in terms of how capable generative AI is going to be. You have substantial investment in this category. And one of the challenges that they are facing, and I don't know whether you guys have followed the recent news or not, OpenAI delayed their release that they were sort of going to release to investors, but they experienced delays there. And the main reason for that is because they are really struggling with the infrastructure. The algorithms that we have at this point of time in the market, they are not as energy efficient. So as we learn over the period of time, as we optimize these algorithms, so there's going to be a real need of, number one, the energy efficient algorithms, as well as we are going to see a lot more investment, with respect to energy, as well as that is going to be from the computing data center perspective. So you are going to see that a lot more. So that's number 12. Now, number 13 on this list is revised processes for sustainability and e-invoicing. Again, this is the trend that we have seen at least for the last couple of years. And you are still going to see this, even today in 2024, 2025, we don't have a clear consensus in terms of where the sustainability processes are going to reside. If you talk to any of the vendors, they all are going to argue that, they have the sustainability features, whether you talk about any of the P2P categories or ERP categories, sometimes that are going to be inside your supply chain categories. So again, from the architecture perspective and how the alignment is going to be of these processes, from the customer perspective, which categories are going to host which particular processes, because at this point of time, you're going to have a lot of overlap. You are probably going to be paying a lot more for the same capability that you are getting from different vendors, just because there is no sort of alignment. And because of this overlap, you are also going to see a lot more challenges from the operational efficiency perspective as well. So as companies learn in terms of who's going to be owning that process, and I don't think that is going to happen in 2025, but you're going to see a lot more revisions and probably better clarity in terms of the processes, who's going to be hosting what. The same thing goes for e-invoicing as well. As governments throughout the world, they are introducing many different processes, many different regulations, and as they are sort of optimizing their workflows, obviously their incentive is going to be to maximize their tax revenue. That's why they are doing all of this. And as they learn more, they will be optimizing that. And then these categories, any of the enterprise categories, enterprise software categories, whether you talk about ERP or anything that is going to be interfacing with your e-invoicing interfaces, at this point of time, the architecture is not clear. Sometimes the documentation management software, they are interfacing with the invoicing software or interfaces. Sometimes it's going to be the EDI interfaces. Sometimes it is ERP. So there is no clear consensus in terms of who is going to be the final custodian of these processes. And as governments evolve these rules and regulations, we are going to see a lot more changes. So just keep an eye on that. You are going to see a lot more changes, and that is probably going to impact your workflows as well.
For video highlights, replays, and more, visit insightjam.com.